What's going on, YouTube? From a young age, it's pretty imperative this day and age that we start to build our assets from the ground up. So with that being said, I wanted to go over two popular rental property ways to invest: cash flow properties and long-term capital gains properties. So in this video, we're going to be covering both of these right here on the channel. We're going to be going over a pros and cons list of each, and from that, you'll be able to tailor, your game plan for which one it seems like you fit into. All right, so if you're new to the channel and you want to become part of the 1%ers, go ahead, leave a subscription down below, turn on all post notifications. I'll be uploading at least 2-3 times a week, so you won't regret it. Without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so the first thing that I want to do here is I want to explain a little bit of the differences between the two. Okay, so a cash flow property is going to be a property that you can either move into and rent out rooms, or you can rent it out to people. And the goal of that is that it is going to generate positive cash flow. Okay, and what that means is that when you're renting it out to these people, that means that the mortgage, principal, property taxes, and all of that is hopefully going to be covered by the renter. So that means you're essentially going to be able to live in a house, have them pay it down, and then live for free, essentially, in some cases. So the alternative is going to be what you're looking for with capital gains. Capital gains is going to be a home that you're going to buy, and you can either flip it, which means you can increase the value of the home so that you're able to get your money's worth and make more of a profit that way by selling it, or you're able to have it for a longer period of time so that it appreciates, and when you go to sell it, that means that you're going to be making a lot more money than you had when you bought it. Now, I will say cash flow rentals a lot of the times are not going to generate that much value as far as when you sell them, because in my experience doing this, you have to have a cheaper home in order for that to work. Because if the renters are going to be paying a certain amount, your mortgage can't be $4,000 if you're only getting $1,000 from them. It just won't work that way. Whereas with a long-term capital gain strategy, you might be able to buy something cheaper, sell it, and then you can live in it for a little while. Maybe you can be your primary residence, who knows? But you can do anything of that sort. Now we're going to start getting into some pros and cons of each of them, and from then you're going to be able to make your decision of which one fits best for you. Number one thing that I wanted to talk about first is going to be level of risk. In my opinion, the long-term capital gains strategy is way riskier for younger people than it is for older people. So, for example, if you're inexperienced and never done your first real estate deal, and you go out and try and find a fix and flip property when you don't know a lot of the costs of contractors, you don't really know how to analyze a home for what it really needs in order to make it market ready, to make your profit, that's pretty risky. Because let's say if you buy a $200,000 house, say it's not valued at what you want it to be valued, you do all the fixes and repairs, the market takes a tank, and then no one's buying it anyway, and you're stuck with that house. That to me is a way larger risk than getting a cash flow property, buying something maybe even on the cheaper end a little bit, and then having people rent it out for you. Because in that case, as long as you vet your renters properly, you know that it's going to be taken care of. Next up is going to be level of experience. Okay, so my first home that I bought was a cash flow property just because I didn't trust myself with contractor repairs, going in, making the necessary repairs myself to try and save money. And then also, knowing marketplace and everything like that. Since it was my first one, I wanted something that was going to be a little bit easier for me. So the cash flow rental was that option for me. Now, that may not be for you, because if you are a handyman, if you are a general contractor, you don't know how to do on a, like return on investment numbers, those kind of things, generating like the positive cash flow numbers. Maybe something is better off suited for you in the construction hand. So maybe you will be able to buy something on the cheaper end of a property. You'll be able to fix it up, rehab it, make, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. So that is really going to be in your court, sort of what your background is and what you would find is less risky. Although, one positive I will say for capital gains strategy, for the long-term capital gains approach, is that you can make money very quickly. If you buy a property, let's say a foreclosure, that is undervalued, and what a foreclosure means is that, the person no longer made payments, so the bank owns it. So they're looking to sell it to someone, typically they take all cash offers, you have to buy the house in cash. So if you had that option, so you bought a house at $70,000, it'd be worth $150,000 repaired. You spend a couple months repairing it, and then you get a massive check. With cash flow, you're not going to be making that money nearly as quick. You know, typically people are making anywhere between $200 to $500 after all their mortgage and interest is off with the rental income. So you won't be making nearly as much right off the bat as you would with the long-term capital gains approach. The next option is going to be refinancing. All right, so this is something that you typically won't be able to do with one of the long-term capital gains approaches, or short-term capital gains approaches for that matter. But if you are doing a cash flow property and you've had that property for, let's just say 10 years, for example, you've built up a solid equity in the home, you can refinance, get a lower interest rate if that's available, and then you can get the cash out for the equity that you have already built in the home, which that essentially means you're going to be getting the money back that you have already accrued in this home. And from that, you can use that to either buy another property, or you can use that to, rehab the property that you are currently in. So that is a giant positive for the cash flow rental side of things. Now, one thing that I do want to say is you can typically start earlier with the cash flow rental idea, because you can either do an FHA loan, which is a first-time home buyer's loan, and then what you can do from that is you can actually move into the property and then have people live with you, rent it out that way if you should so choose, or you can just rent it out typically to a family or something like that. However, but you can get the property generally a lot cheaper. You're going to be looking for sort of lower valued properties so that you can turn a profit on it. If you're looking for something that's more long-term, typically it's going to be in a lot more expensive of an area, so you might not be able to get started as quicker doing that as you would with the cash flow option. So keep that in mind when you're weighing your options out. Now, as most people do at a certain point in time, they would like to live off of their rental property income. That would essentially be the long-term goal. So with the cash flow rental properties, let's say, for example, 30 years down the line, you've had 3 properties, they're all paid off now. So that since that they're paid off, you're just getting thousands and thousands of dollars from them every month. So that would essentially put you in a spot where you could retire earlier. The long-term capital gains approach, typically, it starts when you buy the house. You have to accrue that equity in it, and then hopefully the markets generally go up over time. So that one is a little bit harder to retire off of. However, when you do sell the property, you will be getting a lot more of a check than you would for the cash flow side of things. So it really just depends what boat you're in at the given time. Right, so that is all. If you made it to the end, please let me know down below which one you're considering and which one has your heart at this point in time. So I've got 2 videos over here. If you want to watch them, go right ahead.